Imagine, for a moment, a thief. Not one who steals your possessions, but something far more precious, something irreplaceable. This thief operates in plain sight, often welcomed into our lives with open arms, whispering promises of later and tomorrow. Its name is procrastination, and it is the most insidious stealer of dreams, a silent assassin of potential, and the ultimate destroyer of opportunities. Every single one of us, from the richest magnate to the humblest student, receives the exact same daily allowance, 24 hours. Not a second more, not a second less. This equality of time is the great equalizer, yet it is also the great differentiator. How we choose to spend those fleeting moments, how we honor or disregard the ticking clock, ultimately determines the trajectory of our lives, the heights of our successes, or the depths of our regrets. Success isn't born from having more time than others. It's forged in the crucible of appreciating and effectively utilizing the time one has. I once knew a young man named Alex, bright, talented, brimming with potential. Alex was the kind of person you just knew was destined for great things. He had dreams as vast as the ocean and ideas that sparkled like constellations. Yet, for all his brilliance, Alex was perpetually caught in the snare of procrastination. "I'll start that project tomorrow," he'd declare, even as the deadline loomed. "I'll practice my guitar later," he'd promise himself as his instrument gathered dust. "I'll call my grandmother this weekend," he'd decide, only for the weekend to pass in a blur of distractions. His intentions were always pure, his heart always in the right place. But his actions consistently lagged, leaving a trail of missed opportunities and mounting frustration in their wake. He felt a constant low hum of anxiety, a gnawing sense that he was falling behind. That life was happening to him, not for him. He longed for change, but the inertia of later was a powerful current, pulling him further into its depths. It was during one of Alex's particularly low moments, when he felt utterly overwhelmed by all the things he should have done, that I shared a story with him, a parable that has, over generations, illuminated the profound truth about the value of every single moment we are granted. It's a story that truly transformed his understanding, a tale of a humble fisherman and a fortune he unknowingly held in his hands. Far away, nestled along a rugged coastline where the sea whispered ancient secrets, lived an old fisherman named Silas. His life was a symphony of simple rhythms: the rising sun, the casting of nets, the patient wait, and the return to shore. He knew the tides like the back of his weathered hand, the language of the seagulls, and the taste of salt on the wind. His days were long, his catches modest, but Silas was content, for he asked little of the world beyond what it offered freely. One blustery morning, As the first blush of dawn, Silas cast his nets into the churning waters as he had done countless times before. But as he began to haul them back in, he noticed an unusual resistance. The net was far heavier than usual, straining against his calloused hands. With a grunt, he pulled harder, his muscles burning, until, finally, the catch broke the surface. Amongst the usual shimmering fish and tangled seaweed lay a heavy leather bag encrusted with barnacles and seaweed. It looked ancient, as if it had rested on the seabed for centuries. Curious, Silas cut it free, dragging it onto the deck of his small boat. He untied the weathered leather cord and peered inside. What he saw perplexed him. The bag was filled to the brim with small, clear, crystalline stones. They sparkled faintly, catching the dim morning light, reflecting it in a myriad of tiny rainbows. They were beautiful, certainly, but Silas, a man of the sea and earth, had no use for pretty pebbles. He knew the value of a good catch, the worth of a sturdy boat. But these stones, they seemed utterly useless. He picked one up, turning it over in his fingers. It felt smooth, cool, and surprisingly heavy. Pretty glass, he mumbled to himself, shrugging. Perhaps young Thomas, the merchant's son, might like one for his collection. He took a few of the more striking pieces, tucking them into his pocket out of idle curiosity. The rest of the bag, however, represented nothing but dead weight. He needed room for his fish, and this peculiar discovery was merely taking up valuable space. With another shrug, Silas began to empty the bag. One by one, with a casual flick of his wrist, he tossed the sparkling stones over the side of the boat, watching them glint briefly in the sunlight before disappearing into the dark, unforgiving depths of the ocean. Each splash was barely audible above the waves, each stone a forgotten glimmer, sinking to a watery grave. He continued, methodically, indifferently, until the bag was nearly empty, save for the few he had set aside. Little did Silas know, with each casual toss, he was not merely discarding pretty pebbles. He was throwing away a king's ransom, a fortune beyond his wildest dreams, and the true, heartbreaking weight of his actions. The irreversible loss of what he had so carelessly discarded would only become clear much, much later. Little did Silas know, with each casual toss, he was not merely discarding pretty pebbles. He was throwing away a king's ransom, a fortune beyond his wildest dreams, and the true, heartbreaking weight of his actions, the irreversible loss of what he had so carelessly discarded, would only become clear much, much later. Days turned into weeks. Silas, as was his custom, visited the local market to sell his catch. He saw young Thomas, the merchant's son, meticulously arranging his collection of polished stones. Remembering his peculiar find, Silas reached into his pocket and pulled out one of the crystalline pieces he had kept. "Here, Thomas," he grumbled. "A pretty bit of glass for your collection. Found it at the bottom of the sea." Thomas's eyes widened. He took the stone, his fingers trembling slightly as he turned it over. His face, usually calm and composed, paled. "Silas," he whispered, his voice barely audible, Where did you find this?" Silas shrugged. "Just a bag of them, deep in the trench. Threw most of them back. Too much dead weight." Thomas gasped, a sound of pure disbelief and horror. "Silas," he said, his voice now firm, urgent, "this isn't glass. This is a diamond. A flawless, magnificent diamond. And if the others were anything like this, you've thrown away a fortune, a king's ransom, enough to buy this entire town and more." The words hit Silas like a physical blow. The world seemed to tilt. His mind reeled, replaying the scene on his boat, the casual flicks of his wrist, the glinting stones arcing into the sun, the indifferent splashes as they vanished into the depths. Each splash, which he had barely heard above the waves, now echoed in his ears like the tolling of a death knell. He saw not pebbles, but mountains of shimmering wealth, sinking, forever lost. The regret was a physical ache, a crushing weight in his chest. He had held a fortune in his hands, only to discard it, moment by precious moment, due to ignorance and a lack of foresight. The few stones he had kept were indeed worth a small fortune, enough to live comfortably for years, but the vast, unimaginable wealth he had thrown away, that loss would haunt him until his dying day, my friends. Silas's story is more than just a cautionary tale of a fisherman and lost diamonds. It is a profound parable about the most precious commodity any of us possess, our time. Every single one of us, from the wealthiest magnate to the humblest laborer, is granted the exact same measure of this invaluable treasure each day. 24 hours, not a second more, not a second less. It is the great equalizer, the fundamental currency of life. Yet, how we choose to spend, invest, or squander those hours is the ultimate determinant of our success or failure, our joy or regret. Think of those 24 hours as a bag filled not with diamonds, but with moments. Each moment, each hour, each day is a sparkling, unique diamond, full of potential, full of opportunity. We are given this bag at the dawn of each new day. But like Silas, many of us, through ignorance, through laziness, through sheer indifference, casually toss these precious diamonds away. This, my friends, is the insidious danger of procrastination. Procrastination is the ultimate thief, a silent, relentless pilferer of our dreams, our potential, and our peace of mind. It whispers sweet nothings in our ears. Later, tomorrow, there's plenty of time. Each delay, each task pushed to another day, we are, metaphorically, tossing another diamond into the unforgiving depths of the past. We say, we'll start that new project tomorrow. We'll learn that new skill next week. We'll pursue that dream when we have more time. But tomorrow becomes today. Next week becomes last month. And more time never arrives because we're constantly throwing away the time we do have. We convince ourselves that these discarded moments are just pretty pebbles, inconsequential, easily replaced. But like Silas, we only realize their true, immeasurable worth when they are irrevocably gone. I once knew a young man. Let's call him Alex. Alex was bright, full of potential, but he was a master procrastinator. His assignments were always last minute, his promises often broken, his dreams perpetually on hold. He'd spend hours scrolling through social media, watching endless videos, or just simply waiting for the right moment to begin. His room was a mess, his grades suffered, and a constant cloud of anxiety hung over him because of all the things he should be doing. He was, in essence, Silas, standing on the deck of his life, casually tossing diamonds overboard. Then Alex heard the parable of Silas and the diamonds. He heard it, and something clicked. The image of the fisherman's crushing regret, the irreversible loss of a fortune, resonated deeply within him. He saw himself in Silas, discarding the precious moments of his youth, his opportunities for learning, his chances to build a better future. He understood that every hour wasted was a diamond lost. Every task postponed was a dream deferred, potentially forever. This realization was a turning point. Alex didn't just understand the value of time. He felt its weight, its urgency. He began to change, slowly at first, then with increasing discipline. He started small, dedicating 15 minutes each day to a difficult assignment, waking up an hour earlier, planning his day the night before. He learned to tackle tasks immediately, to eat the frog, as the saying goes, before it had a chance to grow into an insurmountable monster. The transformation was remarkable. Alex, once perpetually behind, became organized and proactive. The anxiety that had plagued him dissipated, replaced by a sense of accomplishment and control. His grades soared. He picked up new skills, and he even found time for hobbies he'd always wanted to pursue. He became a disciplined, successful person, not because he suddenly had more hours in his day, but because he finally learned to appreciate and effectively use the 24 hours he already had. He stopped discarding his diamonds. The main message, my friends, is this: recognize the value of your time now. Don't wait until you're older, until opportunities have passed you by, until regret becomes your constant companion. Don't be Silas, lamenting a fortune lost to the depths. Every moment is a diamond. Every hour is a chance to build, to to learn, to grow, to connect, to create. Success is not reserved for those with more innate talent or more resources. Often, it belongs to those who, like Alex, truly appreciate the finite, irreversible nature of time. It belongs to those who understand that productivity isn't about working harder, but about working smarter with the time given. So, I urge you, look at your day not as a vast, endless expanse, but as a bag of precious diamonds. Do not let ignorance or laziness trick you into discarding them. Pick up each moment with intention. Invest it wisely. Use it to build the life you envision, to pursue the dreams you hold dear. The past is gone. Its diamonds irrevocably lost to the sea. But the present moment, this very second, is a glistening diamond in your hand. What will you do with it? Will you toss it away, or will you polish it, cherish it, and use its brilliance to illuminate your path forward? The choice, my friends, is always yours. Choose wisely, for your life is built moment by precious moment. From the diamonds you choose to keep. Asterisk, asterisk, if this story touched your heart, help spread the message. Like the video, share it immediately, and hit that subscribe button with the bell so you don't miss the next inspiring lessons. See you again soon.